the shattered promise. The perfect wedding day. Elena stood before the full-length mirror, her heart racing with pure joy. The white silk wedding dress hugged her figure perfectly, and the delicate lace veil cascaded down her back like a waterfall of dreams. Today was the day she had imagined since childhood. Today, she would marry Marcus Thornwood, the man who had swept her off her feet with his charming smile and gentle words. "You look absolutely beautiful, sweetheart," her father said, his eyes glistening with tears as he entered the bridal suite. James Hartley was a successful businessman, known throughout the city for his honest dealings and generous heart. He had built the Hartley empire from nothing, and Elena was his only daughter, his precious gem. "Thank you, Dad," Elena whispered, touching the pearl necklace her mother had worn on her own wedding day. "I can't believe this is really happening. Marcus is everything I ever dreamed of." Her father's smile faltered for just a moment. "Elena, are you absolutely sure about this? You've only known Marcus for 8 months. That's not very long to truly know someone." Elena laughed, the sound like silver bells in the elegant room. "Dad, when you know, Marcus loves me. He tells me every single day. He's kind, successful, and he treats me like a queen. What more could I ask for?" James Hartley nodded slowly, though something in his businessman's instinct whispered warnings he couldn't quite name. "You're right, Princess. I just want you to be happy. That's all a father ever wants for his daughter." The grand ceremony begins. The church was decorated with thousands of white roses and crystal chandeliers that sparkled like stars. 300 guests filled the pews, dressed in their finest clothes. The Hartley family had spared no expense for this celebration. Elena's mother, Catherine, had personally overseen every detail, from the 7-tier wedding cake to the live orchestra that would play at the reception. As the wedding march began, Elena took her father's arm. They walked down the aisle together, and she could see Marcus waiting at the altar. He looked handsome in his black tuxedo, his dark hair perfectly styled, his blue eyes watching her approach. But something seemed different today. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes, and his hands fidgeted nervously with his cufflinks. "Dearly beloved," the priest began, his voice echoing through the grand church, "we are gathered here today to join this man and this woman in holy matrimony. Marriage is a sacred bond, built on truth, trust, and unwavering commitment." Elena's heart soared with each word. This was it. This was the beginning of her forever. If anyone has any reason why these two should not be married, speak now or forever hold your peace. The traditional words hung in the air. No one ever actually objected at weddings. It was just a formality, a relic from ancient times. Elena smiled at Marcus, ready to continue with the vows. The mysterious stranger appears. "I object." The voice rang out sharp and clear, shattering the peaceful moment like glass. Every head in the church turned toward the back entrance. A woman stood in the doorway, backlit by the afternoon sun streaming through the open doors. She was thin, wearing a simple blue dress, and carrying a small child on her hip. Elena's blood ran cold. The woman began walking down the aisle, her footsteps echoing on the marble floor. As she came closer, Elena could see her face clearly. She was pretty, with long dark hair and tired eyes that held a mixture of anger and desperation. "What is the meaning of this?" the priest demanded, clearly shocked. In his 40 years of performing weddings, nothing like this had ever happened. The woman stopped just a few feet from the altar. The child in her arms, a little boy about 3 years old, looked around with wide, confused eyes. "I'm sorry to interrupt," the woman said, her voice shaking but determined. "But this wedding cannot happen. This man," she pointed directly at Marcus, "is already married. To me." The church erupted in gasps and whispers. Elena felt the world tilt beneath her feet. "What? No, that's impossible. Marcus, tell her she's lying. Tell everyone she's crazy." But Marcus said nothing. His face had gone completely white, and he stood frozen like a statue. That's when Elena knew. The horrible, soul-crushing truth crashed over her like a tidal wave. The silence was his confession. "Marcus," Elena whispered, her voice breaking. "Look at me. Tell me this isn't true." The hidden truth unveiled. "Her name is Amanda," the woman continued, her voice growing stronger despite the tears streaming down her face. "We've been married for 5 years. This is our son, Daniel." "Marcus, how could you do this to us? How could you abandon your own child?" Marcus finally found his voice, but it came out weak and strangled. "Amanda, please, not here. Not like this. Not like this." Amanda's laugh was bitter and broken. "You disappeared 6 months ago. You stopped sending money. You stopped answering my calls. I had to track you down through a private investigator. And I find out you're marrying another woman? A woman with a rich father." Elena felt her father's hand grip her arm, steadying her as her knees threatened to give out. "Is this true, Marcus?" James Hartley's voice was deadly calm, the kind of calm that came before a storm. Marcus turned to Elena, and for the first time, she saw the real man behind the charming mask he had worn so perfectly. His eyes held guilt, yes, but also calculation. Even now, he was thinking about how to manipulate the situation. "Elena, I can explain," Marcus began, reaching for her hand. Elena jerked away from him as if his touch burned. "Explain? Explain what? That you're a liar? That you're married? That you have a child? That everything between us was a lie?" "No, what we have is real," Marcus insisted, desperation creeping into his voice. "I love you, Elena. Yes, I was married before, but that marriage was over long ago. Amanda and we were just kids when we got married. It was a mistake. But you're my future. Your family, your father's business connections, we could build an empire together." The betrayal revealed. The words hit Elena like physical blows. "My father's business connections? Is that what this was about? The late-night questions about Dad's companies? The way you always steered conversations toward the Hartley investments? You never loved me at all, did you? You were just using me." Catherine Hartley stood up from her seat in the front pew, her face pale with shock and anger. "You targeted my daughter? You made her fall in love with you just to get access to our family's wealth." Marcus's mask cracked completely. His handsome face twisted with a mixture of anger and exposed greed. "Your precious daughter? She was so easy to manipulate. A few romantic dinners, some poetry, telling her she was special. She believed every word. She was just a means to an end. A way out of my pathetic life with Amanda and that kid." The church was completely silent now. Every single person stared at Marcus in horror and disgust. Even his own family members, seated on the groom's side, looked shocked and ashamed. Amanda clutched her son tighter, tears streaming down her face. "You told me you were going on a business trip. You said you'd be back. I believed you. I trusted you. We had nothing, Marcus, but I thought we had love. I was wrong." Elena felt something crack inside her chest, a physical pain so intense she could barely breathe. This was the man she had given her heart to. This was the man she had trusted with her future. This was the man she had planned to spend her entire life with. And he was a monster, the collapse of dreams. "Get out!" Elena's voice was barely a whisper at first, then grew stronger. "Get out! Get out of this church! Get out of my life! I never want to see you again." Marcus's expression changed again, this time to rage. "You're throwing me out? Do you know how much debt I have? How much I need this marriage? Your father promised to invest in my business ventures. Without that money, I'll lose everything." "You already have nothing," James Hartley said, his voice like ice. "Security, please escort this man from the premises. And Mr. Thornwood, consider yourself fortunate that I'm a man of principle. Otherwise, you'd be leaving here in an ambulance rather than just with your dignity in tatters." 2 security guards appeared and grabbed Marcus by the arms. He struggled, shouting back at Elena. "You'll regret this. You're nothing without me. You're just a spoiled little rich girl who doesn't know anything about the real world." As they dragged him away, Elena stood at the altar in her beautiful white dress, surrounded by hundreds of witnesses to her humiliation. The wedding of her dreams had become a nightmare. Her fairy tale had turned into a horror story. Then she felt it. A wave of nausea so strong she had to grip the altar to stay upright. Her mother rushed to her side. "Elena, sweetheart, are you all right?" Elena looked at her mother, and the truth she had been keeping secret, planning to tell Marcus on their honeymoon, suddenly felt like another cruel joke from the universe. "Mom," she whispered, "I'm pregnant." The escape into darkness. The reception hall, decorated with flowers and fairy lights, stood empty. The 7-tier cake remained uncut. The champagne bottles never popped. Guests filed out of the church in awkward silence, unsure of what to say or do. The wedding that was supposed to be the social event of the season had become the scandal everyone would talk about for years. Elena sat in the bridal suite, still wearing her wedding dress, staring at nothing. Her mother and father sat on either side of her, their hearts breaking for their daughter. "We'll get through this," Catherine said softly, stroking Elena's hair. "You're strong. You're a Hartley. We don't break, baby. We bend, and then we come back stronger." But Elena felt broken, shattered into a million pieces that she didn't know how to put back together. "I feel so stupid, Mom. How did I not see it? How did I miss all the signs?" "Because you loved him," her father said gently. "Love makes us blind sometimes. It's not your fault. The fault lies entirely with that worthless man." Elena placed her hand on her still flat stomach. "What am I going to do about the baby, Dad? I'm going to be a single mother. Everyone will talk. Everyone will know my shame." James Hartley took his daughter's face in his hands, forcing her to look at him. "Listen to me, Elena. That baby is not a shame. That baby is a blessing. That baby is innocent, and that baby is a Hartley. We'll face this together as a family. Do you understand me?" Elena nodded, tears streaming down her face, ruining her carefully applied makeup. "I need to leave this city, Dad. I can't stay here. Everyone knows. Everyone saw. I can't face them." Her parents exchanged glances. "Where would you go?" her mother asked. "Anywhere. Somewhere far away where nobody knows me. Somewhere I can start over, rebuild myself, and raise my baby without the constant reminder of this day." 5 years of silence and strength. That night, Elena packed a single suitcase. She took her mother's pearl necklace, some clothes, and the business degree she had earned from Harvard. She left behind the wedding presents, the engagement ring that had cost more than most people earned in a year, and every photograph of Marcus she could find. Her father made arrangements. He had business contacts all over the world. Within a week, Elena was on a plane to Seattle, Washington, 3,000 miles away from her hometown of Boston. Her father set her up with a small apartment and a modest trust fund, enough to live on while she figured out her next steps. "Remember who you are," her father told her at the airport, hugging her tightly. "You're Elena Hartley. You're brilliant, strong, and capable of anything you set your mind to. This setback, this betrayal, it doesn't define you. How you rise from it, that's what defines you." In Seattle, Elena threw herself into building a new life. She used her business degree and her father's connections to start a consulting firm. She worked 16-hour days, even as her pregnancy advanced. She channeled all her pain, all her anger, all her heartbreak into success. When her daughter Sophia was born, Elena held the tiny baby in her arms and made a vow. "I will never let anyone hurt us again. I will make myself so strong, so successful, so powerful that no man will ever be able to break me. You and me, little one, we're going to conquer the world." And she did. 5 years passed. Elena's consulting firm grew from a one-woman operation to a company with 50 employees. She earned a reputation as tough, brilliant, and absolutely uncompromising in business. The Elena who had stood at that altar, naive and trusting, was gone. In her place was a warrior, forged in the fire of betrayal and tempered by the responsibilities of single motherhood. She never dated. She never let anyone get close. She built walls around her heart so high and so thick that no one could scale them. Her only softness was reserved for Sophia, a beautiful little girl with her mother's determination and, unfortunately, her father's blue eyes. Elena told Sophia that her daddy had died before she was born. It was easier than explaining the truth. Easier than telling her daughter that her father was a con artist who had tried to marry for money and had thrown away his family like garbage. Then, one morning, Elena received a phone call that would change everything. "Ms. Hartley," her assistant said, "you have a meeting request from Thornwood Industries in Boston. They want to discuss a potential merger. The CEO himself will be at the meeting." Elena's blood ran cold. Thornwood. That name. That cursed name. Who is the CEO? Elena asked, though she already knew the answer. "A Mr. Marcus Thornwood, ma'am. He's apparently looking for investors and business partnerships. His company has been struggling financially." Elena stared out her office window at the Seattle skyline. For 5 years, she had avoided anything to do with Boston, with her past, with him. But now, fate was dragging them back together. A slow smile spread across her face, but it wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of a hunter who had just spotted her prey. "Tell them yes," Elena said softly. "Tell them I'll meet with Mr. Thornwood. Schedule it for next week." "In Boston." Her assistant paused, confused. "But ma'am, you always refuse to take meetings in Boston. You specifically avoid that city." "I've changed my mind," Elena said, her voice cold as winter ice. "It's time I went home. It's time for some old debts to be paid." As she hung up the phone, Elena looked at the photograph of Sophia on her desk. Her beautiful, innocent daughter who deserved so much better than the father she had been given. Marcus Thornwood had taken everything from her 5 years ago. Her dignity, her trust, her dreams of a fairy tale life. He had left her humiliated and broken. But she had risen from those ashes. And now, it was time for him to learn what happened when you destroyed an innocent woman and left her for dead. Because Elena Hartley wasn't that naive girl anymore. She was a force of nature. And Marcus was about to find out what revenge looked like when it came wrapped in designer clothes and armed with a Harvard business degree. The game was about to begin. And this time, Elena was going to win. Welcome to Midnight Vows. If you're enjoying this story of betrayal and revenge, please like and subscribe to our channel for more captivating tales. Drop a comment telling us what you think Elena should do when she sees Marcus again. H2 Part 2. The Unexpected Return. The journey back to Boston. Elena stood in front of her closet, carefully selecting her outfit for the meeting. 5 years ago, she had fled Boston in tears, broken and humiliated. Today, she would return as a different woman entirely. She chose a sharp black business suit with a red silk blouse underneath. Red for power. Red for the fire that burned in her heart. "Mommy, where are you going?" Sophia asked from the doorway, clutching her favorite stuffed bunny. At 5 years old, she was the perfect blend of innocence and curiosity. Elena knelt down to her daughter's level, smoothing back the little girl's dark curls. "Mommy has to go on a business trip, sweetheart. I'll only be gone for a few days. Grandma Catherine is flying in from Boston to stay with you." Sophia's face lit up. "Grandma, will she bring me cookies?" "Probably," Elena laughed, kissing her daughter's forehead. "She spoils you rotten, just like Grandpa James does." As Elena held her daughter, she felt a pang of guilt. Sophia deserved to know her father, didn't she? But every time Elena thought about telling the truth, she remembered that day at the church. She remembered Marcus's cruel words, his admission that she had been nothing but a means to an end. She remembered the wife and child he had abandoned without a second thought. No, Sophia was better off believing her father was dead rather than knowing he was a monster who had never wanted her in the F. The plane touched down in Boston on a cold Tuesday morning. Elena rented a car and drove through the familiar streets of her childhood. Everything looked the same, yet completely different. The coffee shop where she and Marcus had their first date was now a dry cleaner. The park where he had proposed was being renovated. Even the landscape seemed to have moved on from that painful chapter. She checked into the Four Seasons Hotel, the same hotel where her wedding reception was supposed to have been held. The irony wasn't lost on her. The universe had a twisted sense of humor. That evening, Elena had dinner with her parents at their estate. The Hartley mansion looked exactly as she remembered it, grand and elegant, filled with warmth despite its size. "My baby girl," her mother cried, embracing her tightly. "You look absolutely stunning. Success suits you." Her father wrapped her in a bear hug. "I'm so proud of you, Elena. You've built something remarkable out of nothing but determination and intelligence." Over dinner, Elena filled them in on her life in Seattle. She talked about her business, her clients, her successes. She carefully avoided mentioning the real reason for her visit until dessert arrived. "I know why you're really here," her father said quietly, setting down his fork. "The Thornwood meeting. Elena, are you sure about this? Seeing him again might open old wounds." Elena's expression hardened. "Those wounds never closed, Dad. They just scarred over. And yes, I'm sure. Marcus is desperate. His company is failing. He needs investors, and word on the street is that he's drowning in debt. Again, the man never learns." Her mother reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "What are you planning to do?" "I'm going to listen to his pitch," Elena said calmly. "I'm going to let him think there's hope. And then I'm going to watch him squirm when he realizes who I am and what power I hold over his future." James Hartley studied his daughter carefully. "Revenge is a dangerous game, sweetheart." "This isn't revenge, Dad," Elena replied, her eyes cold. "This is justice. He destroyed me once. He left Amanda and his son with nothing. He's a predator who uses people and throws them away. Someone needs to stop him before he hurts anyone else." Her parents exchanged worried glances, but they said nothing more. They knew their daughter had made up her mind, and Elena Hartley, once she set her mind on something, was an unstoppable force. The corporate battlefield. The next morning, Elena arrived at Thornwood Industries headquarters. The building was smaller than she expected, located in a less prestigious part of the financial district. Already a bad sign. A company's location told you everything about its status, and this location screamed struggle. She walked through the lobby, her heels clicking confidently on the marble floor. The receptionist, a young woman who couldn't have been more than 22, looked up with a bright smile. "Good morning. How can I help you?" "Elena Hartley from Hartley Consulting. I have a 10 o'clock meeting with Mr. Thornwood." The receptionist's eyes widened slightly. "Oh, yes, Ms. Hartley. Mr. Thornwood is expecting you. Let me escort you to the conference room." As they walked through the offices, Elena observed everything. The employees looked stressed and overworked. The furniture was outdated. The motivational posters on the walls were faded and peeling. This wasn't just a struggling company. This was a sinking ship. Perfect. The conference room was on the top floor, with large windows overlooking the city. Elena was the first to arrive. She took a seat at the head of the table, a power position, and waited. 5 minutes later, the door opened. The shocking encounter. Marcus Thornwood walked in, his eyes on the papers in his hand, talking rapidly to his assistant. "Make sure the financial projections emphasize our growth potential, not our current losses. We need to present this as an opportunity, not a rescue mission." He looked up. Time stopped. Marcus's face went completely white. The papers slipped from his hands and scattered across the floor. His mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. He looked like he had seen a ghost, because in a way he had. "Hello, Marcus," Elena said, her voice perfectly calm and professional. "It's been a long time." "Elena," he stammered. You're the Hartley Consulting representative?" "Not just a representative," Elena said, standing up and extending her hand for a handshake, forcing him to maintain professional decorum. "I am Hartley Consulting. I built it from the ground up. Funny how things work out, isn't it?" Marcus's hand trembled as he shook hers. His palm was sweaty. Up close, Elena could see how much he had changed. He looked older, worn down. His expensive suit couldn't hide the stress lines around his eyes or the desperate energy that radiated from him. I didn't know." Marcus said, trying to recover his composure. When my team said Hartley Consulting, I never imagined. I thought you'd gone back to using your mother's maiden name. Why would I do that? Elena asked, sitting back down and crossing her legs elegantly. Hartley is a name that opens doors, commands respect. It's a name built on integrity and success. Unlike some names I could mention. The barb hit its mark. Marcus flinched. His assistant, a nervous-looking man in his 30s, cleared his throat awkwardly. Should I get the presentation ready, Mr. Thornwood? Yes, Marcus said, not taking his eyes off Elena. Yes, do that. And bring coffee. Strong coffee. As the assistant scurried away, an uncomfortable silence filled the room. Elena simply waited, showing no emotion, giving Marcus nothing to work with. She had learned in business that silence was a powerful weapon. People always rushed to fill silence, and in doing so, they often revealed more than they intended. You look amazing, Marcus finally said. Success clearly agrees with you. Survival agrees with me, Elena corrected coldly. Success is just a byproduct. Marcus winced again. Elena, about what happened 5 years ago, is ancient history, Elena interrupted. I'm not here to discuss the past, Mr. Thornwood. I'm here because your company requested a meeting about potential investment opportunities. So let's keep this professional, shall we? Tell me about Thornwood Industries. Tell me why I should invest $1 in your company. The desperate business pitch. Marcus's presentation was desperate from start to finish. He talked about market opportunities, growth potential, and strategic positioning. But Elena, with her sharp business mind, saw through every exaggeration and half-truth. Thornwood Industries was bleeding money. They had 3 major clients, and 2 of them were threatening to leave. Their debt was astronomical. Your financial projections are overly optimistic, Elena said, interrupting him mid-sentence. You're claiming 15% growth next quarter, but your current trajectory shows a decline. You've lost 2 major contracts this year and haven't secured any new significant clients. Your overhead costs are too high, and your employee turnover rate suggests serious management problems. Marcus's face flushed red. We've had some temporary setbacks, but these aren't temporary setbacks, Elena continued, flipping through the documents he'd provided. This is a pattern of poor decision-making and financial mismanagement. You expanded too quickly without sustainable revenue streams. You took on debt to fund growth that never materialized. Frankly, Mr. Thornwood, I've seen college startups with better fundamentals than your company. The assistant looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. Marcus's jaw clenched. If you've already made up your mind, why did you take this meeting? Professional courtesy, Elena said simply. I always give people a chance to make their case, even when I know what my answer will be. Before Marcus could respond, there was a knock on the conference room door. A woman entered, and Elena's heart skipped a beat. It was Amanda, but this wasn't the desperate, tearful woman from the church 5 years ago. This Amanda looked professional, put together, wearing a simple but elegant dress. She carried a laptop and a determined expression. I'm sorry I'm late, Amanda said, then stopped dead when she saw Elena. The recognition was instant and mutual. You, Amanda whispered. You work here? Elena asked, genuinely surprised. Marcus stood up quickly. Amanda is our head of operations. She joined the company 2 years ago. Amanda, this is... I know who she is, Amanda said quietly. She turned to Marcus. You didn't tell me the investor meeting was with her. I didn't know, Marcus said. And for once, Elena believed he was telling the truth. The web of complications. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Amanda set down her laptop and took a seat across from Elena. If I had known, I would have prepared differently. Would you have? Elena asked. Or would you have tried to convince your boss to cancel the meeting? I don't know, Amanda admitted honestly. That day at the church, that was the worst day of my life. But also, in a strange way, it was the beginning of my new life. After everything fell apart, after Marcus left me with nothing, I had to rebuild. I got my degree. I learned to stand on my own 2 feet. I became strong. Elena studied the woman carefully. There was no deception in her eyes, only weary honesty. What happened to your son? Daniel, wasn't it? Amanda's face softened. He's 7 now. He's in a good school thanks to my job here. He's happy, healthy, and he doesn't remember much about those dark days. And you're working for the man who abandoned you? Elena couldn't keep the disbelief from her voice. I'm working for myself, Amanda corrected. Yes, Marcus owns the company, but I earned this position through hard work. I'm good at what I do. And yes, there's irony in the situation. Trust me, I'm aware. Marcus had been silent through this exchange, looking increasingly uncomfortable. Finally, he spoke up. Can we please get back to business? Our personal history doesn't need to complicate this discussion. Everything is complicated when it comes to you, Marcus, Elena said. But Amanda has a point. Let's see what the head of operations has to say. Maybe she can present a more realistic picture of your company's situation. Amanda opened her laptop and pulled up a new presentation. Unlike Marcus's overly optimistic pitch, Amanda's numbers were brutally honest. She didn't hide the problems. She didn't sugarcoat the challenges. She simply laid out the facts and presented a realistic plan for recovery. We're in trouble, Amanda said bluntly, but we're not dead yet. We have valuable intellectual property, a talented team, and a few loyal clients. With proper investment and restructuring, we could turn this around. It would take 3 years of hard work, sacrifice, and smart decision-making. But it's possible. Elena was impressed despite herself. This is much more realistic. Why didn't you lead with this, Mr. Thornwood? Because investors don't want to hear about problems, Marcus muttered. They want to hear about opportunities. Smart investors want to hear the truth, Elena corrected. Lies and exaggerations are what got you into this mess in the first place. The hidden child revealed. The meeting continued for another hour. Elena asked pointed questions, Amanda provided honest answers, and Marcus grew increasingly agitated as he realized his control over the situation was slipping away. Finally, Elena closed her portfolio. I'll need to think about this. I'll have my team do a thorough audit of your company's financials and operations. If I decide to invest, it will come with conditions. Strict conditions. I don't throw money at failing companies without assurance that my investment will be protected. Of course, Amanda said. We expected nothing less. As Elena stood to leave, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and smiled despite herself. It was a text from her mother with a photo attached. Sophia was wearing her grandmother's pearls and making a silly face. The smile faded when she looked up and saw Marcus staring at her phone screen. He had moved closer, ostensibly to shake her hand goodbye, but his eyes were locked on the photo visible on her phone. Who's that? Marcus asked, his voice strange. Elena quickly locked her phone. No one. Just a friend's daughter. But Marcus wasn't stupid. He had seen enough. The little girl in the photo had his blue eyes, his dark curls. The age would be about right. 5 years since the wedding. 5 years since. His face went white again. Elena, is that... Do you have a daughter? That's none of your business, Elena said coldly, moving toward the door. Marcus grabbed her arm. Elena, please, just tell me. Is she mine? Elena jerked her arm away, her eyes blazing. Don't you dare touch me. And don't you dare ask me questions you have no right to ask. You lost any claim to information about my life the day you admitted I was just a means to an end. But if she's my daughter... She's my daughter, Elena snapped. Mine. She knows nothing about you, and that's how it's going to stay. Amanda watched this exchange with growing understanding and sadness. Marcus, stop. You have no right. I have every right, Marcus shouted, his desperation finally breaking through his professional facade. If I have another child out there, I have a right to know. Like you cared about your first child? Elena shot back. Daniel was 3 years old when you abandoned him to chase my family's money. You're not a father, Marcus. You're a sperm donor at best.